give me some specifics. What's your bell schedule look like? Where exactly are your facilities? They're referenced in there, but they're like, well, we'll just figure it out. Some people need to give you some concrete evidence of what they're going to do before. That being said, I got like 5 pages of critiques. I'll send them to you on emails. But a couple big issues. I don't like the board structure. The whole idea of a appointed board, especially with provisions that say you can be voted off the board by the majority of the other board member, majority of the other board members, I think is garbage. That just allows for politics to be played. When people get on the board, they should be elected by the people who they're responsible to, which is the public. And when they're there, they should stay. And if they're not doing a good job, people should have an opportunity to say, I don't want you there. So that's one critique. Secondly, one of the premises of a countywide charter is that this is something you can't get anywhere else. I hope that you will go through and look at the course catalogs. The course catalog of the Tech Academy is essentially identical to Clayton Valley's course catalog, except for a handful of technology-related courses. And in their requirement for graduation, they are asking 10 credits less than Clayton Valley does, and they're only requiring students to take 10 units in technology for their graduation. So there's no guarantee that they will actually get all of this tech that they talk about in there. So I have more that I'll email you, but I hope you'll do your homework on this. Thank you.
Janet Schultz.
Good evening, board. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Dr. Janet Schultz, a very proud superintendent of Pittsburgh Unified School District. I also want to take a minute to share a little bit about my background because I have, it's important when it comes to this particular issue. Prior to Pittsburgh, I was the assistant superintendent of high schools in San All right, better? Okay, prior to, does my time restart? Prior to being superintendent of Pittsburgh Unified School District, I was the assistant superintendent of high schools in San Francisco Unified School District, where we had some positive relationships with some charter schools and also had some of the same programs that were mentioned tonight, including the TEALS program in our public high schools. And before that, when I was in graduate school, I actually worked for a company that reviewed charter schools for the state of Massachusetts and New York. So I have led reviews for charter schools, a wide variety of charter schools during those 2 years. So I come to you tonight opposed to this charter with that dual lens as superintendent of Pittsburgh, but also looking at it through the lens of someone who had that expertise in going through and doing charter school renewal visits, some that were very positive and some that were not. 2 areas were concerning to me in looking at this. Similar to the presentation, the lack of specificity. So the presentation that we saw tonight had a lot of general material, but very little things about what the program would actually look like, including what the tech program would be, including what strategies would be. For the sake of time, I'm going to go to my largest concern, which is how can it really be truly for supporting a diverse school for all students? Most of the language supporting English learners and students with disabilities is simply describing the laws that they would need to follow. There is nothing unique. There is language on page 62 and 64 that speaks about underachieving students being into correct placement for students who demonstrate a lower aptitude into classes better aligned to their ability levels. That's in direct conflict with using exciting teaching strategies as a way to reach all students. For this reason and others, and I'm happy to send some more comments via email, I do not support this, and I appreciate the desire to help kids, but you must do so responsibly, or you are not doing the work of the board. Thank you.
Alyssa Guevara.
Okay, so good evening. I'm Alyssa Guevara, and I am a Clayton Valley student speaking in representation of the youth that is specific to our area. So just a few concerns that I have with this petition. At the last CV board meeting, it was brought up by staff members that there's a conflict of interest due to petition advisory members being on our governing board. So I just wanted to bring that up again. also in regards to the clarity of like the funding that CV would be providing, because there are certain things like rent and janitorial services and other cuts that have been made that should probably be paid prior to something like that. And due to the lack of clarity and the lack of specificity in the presentation and things like that, I think maybe more digging needs to be done, and I also think the county still needs to approve a forensic audit. But as advocates, as an advocate for the education of the students in my community, I don't believe that students oppose this tech school, but I believe that we think measures need to be taken and due process needs to be taken to ensure that this be done under trustworthy and professional leadership, as well as doesn't mirror the teaching and student environment of Clayton Valley. I also find this technological emphasis kind of interesting due to Mr. Lindsay's new implementation of the BYOD, bring your own device method, because he welcomed in new students and in the same sense took out our computer labs. So I just find this ironic as this BYOD measure fails to accommodate the small amount of low-income students that we do have. I believe that's all I have to say. I just hope that you will do your research and your digging. Thank you. Actually, I have 1 second.
John McMorris.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, distinguished board members. A few years ago, I was here on the other side opposing Clayton Valley Charter as the principal of Northgate Charter of Northgate High School. I became passionate arguing against the charter, and now I'm a little bit like St. Paul, a convert, as I'm now proudly working for the charter. A lot of powerful things were said today, and I commend the board. And I think it's 2 things I want to talk about we have to do. The fact is in the pudding. When I left, I was working at Fairfield Sassoon under Superintendent Corey. I love her. I love that district. Dave Lindsay called me and said, hey, I want to talk to you. I have an opening. I had some change. Some guys resigned. I can't talk about it. It's a personnel issue, but let's talk. We met for 3 or 4 hours. I've known Mr. Lindsay because the first year when he raised Clayton's API by 39 points, 62 points. I went to his school. I took a group of teachers. We asked, what are you doing? It was amazing. You want to see the facts? Come to Clayton. See the TCM, where every student is seen by a counselor and administrator and given Saturday remediation. They're given tutorials in the library. I tried to copy those things at Northgate High School, things I learned from him, because we have positive cooperation. You've seen a little example of the nastiness that sadly has to end if we're going to be positive. And we can do that. We can be positive. Northgate High and Clayton Valley Charter are not enemies. They're allies. They're partners. They can do great things. And we got to stop attacking each other, bringing each other down, and using kids against each other. Clayton Valley Charter may have lost some teachers. I don't know about that. But I go around the school every day, and there are some excellent teachers. And you should come to the school. I'll take you around and see what's going on in that school. The facts speak for themselves. Let's bring together. I think you should approve this, and I think you should come to Clayton and see what's going on there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I have a clarifying question? Sure. For 1 second. I didn't hear you quite clearly. I don't know if you said 4% or 43%. You said that prior to Mr. Lindsay coming to Clayton Valley, when he arrived at Clayton Valley, his work raised the API score for Clayton Valley to what? Was it 4%?
I thought it was 40s, but it was 61. 62.
2%.
And my parents called me and said, what the hell's going on at Clayton? What are you doing? I said, I'm going to go find out.
That's quantifiable fact, right? I mean,
It is, sir.
All right, thank you. And no, I didn't know what was 4 or 43. All right, thank you.
Joe Madrano.
Joseph, can you tell me how many more speakers we have? We have a request for a break.
There are 4 more speakers.
Okay, we'll go.
Board, I just want to say thank you. I was here 4 years ago asking you to approve Clayton Valley Charter, and you did. I want to thank you, as my daughter was part of the first 4-year class that just graduated from Clayton Valley Charter High School. very successful. I don't believe Dave Lindsay was a failure or the high school's been a failure. I think it's been a tremendous success. And the education she received was much better than the education my nephew received 4 years at Clayton Valley prior to it converting to a charter. So again, thank you. I hope you do consider and do approve the Tech Academy going forward. Because it's giving a matter of choice for kids. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids and giving them a choice. They don't want to go to the school, they don't have to, but they have at least another option. And especially focusing on technology, which we need that for the future of our kids and our society. In regards to, Mr. Gomes, you mentioned, why can't they collaborate? You saw the asterisks. Regarding the back pay in fees for the rent, while I was vice mayor of Clayton, we had a joint project, the gym at Mount Diablo Middle School, and we stopped paying our rent. The city of Clayton stopped paying the district because they were overcharging us and not fulfilling their part. It took several years for us to the city to negotiate with them, and then fees went away and then they worked out because the city was being overcharged. So I commend Clayton Valley Charter High School for making sure they are being fiduciary responsible and not being overcharged by the district for that land. So, when it's brought up that they're not paying their bills, no, they don't have a problem paying their bills. They want to make sure they're not being overcharged and they're doing the right thing by that. So I want you to know that the district has a history of overcharging.
Sir, what is your name again?
Joe Madrona.
I'm sorry?
Joe Madrona.
Madrona.
Thank you.
Mary Gray.
Good evening, members of the board. I was also here 4 or 5 years ago, and I spoke against the charter of Clayton Valley. Today, first of all, I am a parent who's been very involved in the public schools. I've done a lot of volunteer work. My concern now is Mr. Lindsay is going to be at the helm of this new charter that you're proposing, or he's proposing. But it doesn't seem like his flagship charter, Clayton Valley, is doing very well. It's hemorrhaging teachers, staff, and students. And I have spoken to a number of the parents and some of the students, and actually one administrator. And I've heard some horror stories, which I can't go into detail right now because, of course, there's no time. But I will send this to you via email. And I'm really concerned about some of these issues that have not been resolved. When the charter was first approved by the county board, there were promises made by charter proponents, because I was at that meeting, and they said that each student would have an iPad, or maybe a Chromebook, I'm not sure what at the time, and they were all excited about that. Right now, they have about $11 million in reserves, and these kids don't have the technology they were promised to begin with, so if we're going to be pushing the Tech Academy, why don't we fix the problems we have now and make our promises good, which hasn't happened. So I don't think it's a really good idea until he gets his current house in order. I want oversight. I didn't see a lot of oversight for the Clayton Valley Charter because there are too many issues. It's all documented on some websites and also in the news and from people I've spoken to. And I'm really concerned because these are my tax dollars, your tax dollars that are being used for a new charter. But yet the old charter needs a lot more help than it's getting. Thank you.
Your name again, ma'am?
My name is Mary Gray, G-R-A-Y.
Dorothy Weisenberger.
Good evening, Board. I did not come here to speak tonight, but after hearing what I've been hearing, I felt compelled to. So, first of all, Mr. Bell, when somebody's up here speaking and you're making side comments and making faces, especially when a student from Clayton Valley was speaking, I felt it very appalling. Mr. Gomes, when you asked about if there was 2 different entities between the schools, and then they turned around and said that they can have summer school programs at the school, from the tech school to Clayton Valley coming over, that is the same entities, isn't it? Also, are they going to have sports? Are they going to have dance classes? Are they going to have extracurricular dances? Or are these sports going to be going, are the kids that go to the tech school that do want to play sports, are they going to be going to Clayton Valley for their sports? So these are questions that need to be asked. And I also want to say, Mr. McMorris, while he was at Northgate, let's remember, he took $40,000 from the parent group for a trip that could have gone to a teacher that is extra money for them, a principal, $40,000. So let's see how correct are they in bringing in, what kind of people they bring into their school at Clayton Valley. Also, this is about the tech school, not Clayton Valley, and I'm sorry to say, but I think the two entities are the same. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Carol Haymeyer.
Hi, just some brief comments. I'm just a grandma and my grandchildren are up in Seattle, so I'm not involved in this. But I do care about education in this county. I had good education. I was a junior Phi Beta Kappa. I was a top student at Bolt Hall Law School. I believe in education. I think it's very important. I think competition is important too, though. I'd ask that the board ask some questions about some of the issues that have been raised. There were a lot of comments about lack of specificity. Mr. Lindsay's time was limited to almost nothing. He'll give you anything you want if you give him the time. Lost teachers are constantly being brought up. There's a reason for that. And you have to ask Mr. Lindsay. I'm not the person that should explain it. That has to do with their teacher tenure and the need to return to the public school to keep it. I think a lot of questions have to be asked, but I think Clayton Valley is a superstar school. There's no question about that. And students that don't like it can leave. And they should. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haymeyer.
There are no more public comments.
Madam Chairman, we'll have to recess for a few minutes.